Hi everyone, my name is Paula. I'm from Kenya. I run an organization called Wildlife Direct, which is a Kenyan organization that works across the country and all across Africa actually. I first fell in love with wildlife when I was a child, and it was very much to do with the fact that in those days, all the schools took children to the national parks. And just as she said, it is such an extraordinary experience to meet these great animals, firsthand. Africa is blessed with incredible species. There's megafauna that have disappeared from many other parts of the world. We still have our elephants and giraffes and rhinos, lions, mountain gorillas, those guys. But everyone knows that the world has already lost 60% of its species, and 1 million species are said now to be on the brink of extinction. And Africa has the most to lose because we still have a lot of these giant animals. I did my PhD in elephants. I love these animals because they are so much like human beings. They're easy to create a love affair with them. Anybody in the world, it's easy to get them to relate to these great animals. And around the world, young children have grown up with them in television, in their homes, in their schools because of National Geographic, BBC, and all these great documentary makers. Those films are not shown in Africa. So Africans have a very different relationship with these wildlife. Photographers and millions of visitors come to Africa to see them. Some of these animals are individually very famous. This is Kumquat, the matriarch of a family of elephants called the Cubes in Amboseli, and her family. Kumquat was slaughtered the day after that photograph was taken, gunned down by poachers, and her ivory was probably taken half a world away to China to be turned into trinkets and necklaces and chopsticks and all those kinds of things. This slaughter of elephants across Africa has been happening because of international trade, the demand for ivory, which was reopened partially in 2009. And the world responded. When famous elephants get killed, they're known by name, it causes a global reaction. And some of the strongest champions and people who were most visible, of course, were celebrities like Prince William. In Kenya, what we saw very quickly after the reopening of the trade in 2009 was a surge in poaching. We took action at this point, and we saw that drop off very quickly. And it wasn't because of the global actions, it was because of what we did locally. We declared a national disaster, and we started a national campaign enlisting the general public, government, industries, in a campaign called Hands Off Our Elephants. We were basically saying, these are our elephants, and we're going to defend them. As Wildlife Direct, what we did was something that nobody else was doing. We went into the courtrooms to find out why was Kenya a safe haven for these poachers and traffickers. We looked in court records, we put cameras in courtrooms, and we monitored how our judges and magistrates were actually adjudicating cases. What we found was shocking for the whole country. We exposed it publicly that most of the criminals were getting out scot-free because 70% of the case files were missing or lost. That's corruption. This allowed us to fight for loads of reforms. And what we did was we enlisted local heroes and champions, our local music artists like Julianne, the hip-hop artist. Our First Lady became the patron of our campaign, and businesses and corporates got involved as well. And then we mobilized thousands of people to march on the streets of Nairobi and demand justice for our wildlife. But the most important thing we did was we went to government and we demanded they actually took actions. The chief of police, we asked him to make good a warrant for the arrest of one of the most despicable criminals, an ivory trafficker called Faisal Mohammed Ali. Faisal was eventually arrested because we got Interpol involved, prosecuted, convicted and jailed for 20 years. And for the first time in Kenya, citizens saw that their action pushed the government to react and respond. And of course, it also led to this great celebration where we destroyed the entire ivory stockpile as a statement that our elephants are worth more alive. So saving elephants was something that we managed to do in just 3 years through public action, mobilizing the public. But of course, wildlife across Africa is a grave threat. Most people relate to animals as dangerous, they kill them, and this is what children are learning, that the best lion is a dead lion. So we went to look for our local heroes. How do we inspire young people to fall in love with nature and actually treasure it and act to save it? Richard Turere, age 13, was invited to speak at the TED conference in Los Angeles because he invented a device to keep lions out of his father's homestead and where the cattle are kept. He didn't like lions, but he saved cattle, and in doing so, he stopped retaliatory killings of lions. And Richard as a result of that exposure and visibility that we created by telling his story, was able to get a scholarship in a top school in Kenya. He's now at university in Rwanda. He's Kenya's youngest patented inventor. So our mission is to, as an organization, is to connect people to nature so that they'll treasure it and act to save it. And we're doing this through telling these amazing stories of Kenyan heroes at the front line through a television series called Wildlife Warriors. I'm the host of the series. This is the second TV series that we've produced. And the series is basically about these incredible guys at the front line doing extraordinary things. They have stories that we can relate to. Fikiri Kiponda started off as an accountant, but he had stumbled upon turtles on the beach and fell in love with them and gave up his job as an accountant to go and rescue and save turtles. He saved thousands of them. Our crew, entirely Kenyan. We are the first and only African crew working on wildlife documentaries in Africa. It's tied to a program in schools, so we take these films, broadcast them on national television, and then go into classrooms and work with teachers and children. And the children get a chance to go out into the wild and interact with wildlife. Imagine if we can turn the 6,500 children enrolled in our Wildlife Warriors clubs into these champions and defenders who will actually take actions to stop the destruction of our wildlife. So that's what we're trying to do. We're currently in 36 schools across the country, and we want to scale up and reach all 27,000 primary schools in Kenya and move 4 million children into the parks by the end of the year.